showed up right in time, and then things just went nuts.
Yeah, so now, yes, we get to see really the expert, the lands expert.
But what
Jarvis.
is he doing? Is that a sphere?
Yes, that is
so this is...
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is his sideboard plan. I'm obviously not the lands expert here, but...
Nor am I, but yeah, normally what the lands decks try to do, from my understanding, at least post-board, is they go for Form of Amethyst, Sphere of Resistance. Fear is the main one they go for.
4 Sphere of Resistance and a few Thorns? One Thorn, okay.
Yeah, Jarvis plays 1. And yeah, essentially, you accept that the combo decks are not your best matchups. It's very hard to interact with them, and what you're trying to do is not quite as good as what they're trying to do on average. Sneak and Show is okay because the actual putting a land into play part of the show and tell is actually a big drawback. The lands deck can that way cheat a land drop, make a 20/20 after you've made a Gristlebrand or Emrakul, and attack and force the block.
That's great. Chump block with your Emrakul?
Yep, that's what happens.
I love that.
If they chump block with Gristlebrand, it's not so bad for them because they get to draw a bunch of cards. But yeah, if they chump block with Emrakul, you're pretty... Actually, that's really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So
by the way, this one looks like it may be slipping away here from Mark Sadowski as Jarvis-Yu's kind of putting his game plan forward. I see Thespian stage, and he's just going to go ahead and make a 20/20. And unless there's an unsummon floating around in the deck there for Mark Sadowski, he's about to take a big hit.
Mark is dead.
Yeah, Mark just wanted to make sure he had the Merit Lage token, and he did. And that is going to do it. So Jarvis-Yu making quick work of Mark Sadowski. Just the 2-0 victory gives him his team sitting at 5-1. Remember, we're here in round number 7, and these teams, the winner of this round will find themselves into day 2. Now they'll also have another another round to play next, but that will lock them up for day 2 contention. And Jarvis just gets to hang over and say, "Hey guys,
how's it going? I got to put a 20/20 in play. What about you?"
Yeah, what did you guys do today?
He's like, "I had a 5/5. That was pretty good."
Wait, so okay, give me the huge creature power rankings. Then is Merit Lage ahead of Emrakul?
Yeah.
Whoa! Of course. Look at that.
I even remember doing the Cold Snap pre-releases and not putting much stock in those Merit Lage tokens.
Oh yeah,
big mistake.
Oh yeah. Those are in the front of a lot of people's trade binders now. I'll tell you that. So what do we see here? Back on Mark Jacobson versus Jeffrey Chen. We haven't actually had a chance to check in. I think we're seeing a energy mirror here.
That is correct. They
want to talk about something else for a while, or should we?
we can.
We're supposed to talk about this, right? Okay.
Yeah, I like. Well, to be fair, Nissa, Steward of Elements, is not is not a card you see and play that often.
No. But when you do, it tends to be very powerful because this is the time when you want it, right? You see it against an empty board, and she can just sort of wreak havoc, generate a bunch of extra advantage.
Yeah, this is extremely powerful. Jeffrey went, kill your Servant of the Conduit to counter your mana advantage. And now I have this Nissa. And basically, the Nissa can do... I mean, the Nissa allows you to basically do what you wish to do in terms of stacking your deck. Or you can start getting value if you scry 2, see a free drop like a Virtuoso or a Rogue Refiner. But yeah, when you 0 at 5 though, basically any permanent in your deck comes into play. And that's an incredibly powerful ability.
Yeah.
Just 0 mana, I'm going to put this card in play. And the fact that you get to scry, when they keep 2 on top, that's the warning sign.
That's the bad news.
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
Although
the Rogue Refiner maybe changes it. Still actually, 1 there.
Actually, that was kind of interesting.
What did you see there?
Well, Jeffrey could have cast the Rogue Refiner before the Nissa and then scryed. And the advantages there are you could have seen the extra card first, so known what you want, because the Rogue Refiner kind of blind draws, and then you can choose what you scry and control your draw step a little more that way.
I see, where he was hoping, kind of in a weird way, right, to set up, I'd like to draw something specific with this, but the problem is with that much mana, he wasn't really able to deploy 2 things anyway.
Right, exactly. So, and that was the problem is now he hit that blind.
Yeah.
But he was hitting blind. He was targeting blind. And had he done it the other way, he knew what he would have been able to play. It might be that maybe there were 2 spells that Jeffrey wanted to keep, so that makes sense, but yeah.
Sure. And that makes sense too. Ooh, there's Glorybringer.
Yeah.
Go ahead and exert that. Take down the Whirler Virtuoso. couple of Thopters available for Mark if he wants to cash in, and he's gonna.
Yeah. And yeah, two things that make Jeffrey really far ahead, apart from that Nissa. Mark missed his 4th land drop.
Oh, no.
And, this Glorybringer, of course.
And Glorybringer, right.
Yes.
Yeah, this one could slip away from Mark very quickly here. The good news is, for Mark, he did win game number 1. So if he is to lose this, he will get a chance to get his revenge on Jeffrey in the next game. But this is a very tough fight to fight. He's attacking with 2 Thopters just to try to get some sort of control over Nissa Steward of Elements, and he's missing his land drop again, Eduardo. This is going to fall apart quickly.
Yeah,
Standard is not friendly to this type of thing. Miss a land drop twice, and you're kind of dead.
Yeah, that's not missing land drop in Standard is usually like you need your 4th, 5th lands. Like after a while, okay, it needs to stop, but yeah. And Jeffrey has the world of options with that extra mana. He's just considering he has a Vizier, so he could copy the Glorybringer, but he has to be careful. If Mark has a Chandra's Defeat or a Harness Lightning, then the Vizier has very low impact because it would copy a Thopter or a Servant.
Well, it's just going to get Supreme Willed out anyway, though I kind of figure if I'm in Jeffrey's seat, I'm not super bummed about that. He can just embalm it later anyway. It just ends up being a 2-for-1.
I think Supreme Will was pretty decent. Like, I mean, I think it was pretty decent for Jeffrey here, as you say. Like,
yeah.
Okay, sure, you got my play. That's fine. I'll get it back later. And like, if Mark decides to keep open mana, Jeffrey can just embalm the Vizier. Preferably with the board being a tiny bit fuller, so that he can copy. If like the Glorybringer was to die, well, I get to copy this Bristling Hydra at least.
By the way, Glorybringer is going to be crunching in once again next turn as well, potentially clearing the way for any threat or blocker that Mark might play, or maybe just killing a Thopter or something, or maybe even just attacking for 4. Either way, it's a major, major issue. And Mark just, when you have your resources restrained to the level that he's had his, what does he put? Like, if he casts a creature, it just gets killed by Bringer. If he kills a Glorybringer, he's still just facing down a Planeswalker and another creature, plus whatever else Jeffrey has. It's just such a tough position to get this far behind for Mark. I don't see how he's going to find his way out of it.
Yeah, the main problem is, even if Mark had the cheap answers, like the Chandra's Defeat and the Harness Lightnings, which would allow him to come back in, the Nissa is not something that he can answer with one of those spells.
Right.
And that's the problem, is Jeffrey's going, every turn, I'm going to draw good cards. You're going to draw what's on top of your deck. And if it's a good card, well, you might not even be able to cast it because you're stuck at freelance. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, in short, like, Mark is very far behind here. There's plenty of more, just the permanence on Jeffrey's side. Like, it's just an abundance. Jeffrey has twice as much mana, gets to scry 2 every turn, gets to play more big threats like this Bristling Hydra, and it's just like a snowball advantage, In the Energy Mirror, when you fall behind and both players are kind of at parity with cards in hand, yeah, it's very hard to get back.
Well, if Jeffrey does end up winning this game, which it looks like he's going to do, he may be the only one from his team to pick up a game here. Ari up a game, Jarvis already won 2-0, and Mark was up a game as we came in here.
Yeah. So yeah.
Is this Mark using Harness Lightning on the Servant?
Let's see. We'll see what he targeted in a bit.
Yeah, I think he did, actually.
On the Servant? Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out why. Because when you're...
I am, too.
Yeah, because when, when you're, like, sitting, let's say, from Jeffrey's seat, and you see that, you have to figure out, why did Mark Harness Lightning my apparently least important card? And when that happens, I usually think they have something else. But in this case, if they have something else, this was a good time to hit the Glorybringer. So
shields were down, yeah.
Right. So I would put Mark on a Chandra's Defeat.
Okay.
That would be my guess, is Mark has access to a Chandra's Defeat, and that doesn't really target anything else. So that's the most sensible line. The Harness Lightning can't target the Hydra, and you need to deal with Jeffrey's creatures. Yeah, so I would put Mark on a Chandra's Defeat here.
Okay, well, let's see how this one unfolds. I like your logic there, Eduardo. That makes sense to me. Because it did stand out a little. You're like, wait a second, what?
Yeah.
The 2-2? Yeah. Well, there's another target for it. If that is what he has. It's a Whirler Virtuoso. Well, Mark didn't do anything this turn. He's just going to scoop him up. He also may have decided, I'm not coming back whether I Chandra's Defeat or not.
Sure.
So I may as well just not show you that I have them. And he's going to pack them in. Rich Hagen, what do you got for us from the floor?
Okay, so at 5 and 1, it goes two ways. You win, you go 6-1, you're in, that's all clear, no panic in the last round. You go 5 and 1, you lose this round, you're at 5 and 2, you face the cut and elimination in round 8. So, winners, Jacobson-Lax-Yu, that's Mark Jacobson, Ari Lax, and Jarvis Yu. They're through at 6 and 1. Stark, Froelich, and DeRosa are still going, but they are through. Nass, Pardee, and Wilson go to 6 and 1 as well.
That's a team I've had my eye on for sure.
But Rietzel, Rubin, and Cuneo are on the door.
Whoa.
The trapdoor at 5 and 2. So are Calcano, Pisano, and Friedman. And also Solano, Elsick, and Wong. That's Zach Elsick, the Lantern Control Master. So he's at 5 and 2. So some big names at 5 and 2 coming your way in the last round. And I've no clue what happens in this one at all.
Thank you, Rich, for that update. Yeah, we're still getting the kinks worked out here in the cut. This is our kind of new show here. But yeah, Rich and I had a little smile at each other when he told us the result, and I pointed at the camera, and he goes, "Oh, you're watching that one right now." But we do apologize for that. But we still get to watch it and see what happens, though. Yeah, it does look like it's kind of obvious looking at it, I suppose, with all of these wins on the left-hand side of the column that they do actually end up to finish off the other team here and take the win down. Poor Rich. He didn't know.
One interesting thing, Fury, I read about spoilers, though, is if you do get them given to you, sure, the surprise element might be ruined, but then you become curious, okay, well, wait a second, how did they win?
How did it actually happen?
Yes, so basically the logic here is you want to figure out what happened because we don't care so much about the result as we care about the story as human beings.
That's true. I've never really been... I don't really care about spoilers that much. If one of my friends says, "Oh, I saw this movie that you might see, but I really want to tell you about it," I'm like, "Just do it. I don't I'll live." You know.
Fine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess in a perfect world, I would prefer to just not have any knowledge, but whatever. I don't care at all.
In our ears, Rashad spoiled something.
Yeah, we know. I was waiting for him to do that. The funny thing is that I've never seen those movies either.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, I know what he's referring to, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, but yeah, let's not spoil something on air. That would not work.
No, I that's the thing. I recognize that it's not a big deal for me, but I certainly respect other people's wishes on that because I know how excited you can get about something, right? It's just how it goes.
Normal. Right. So, by the way, in this game, what seems to be happening is that Ares going for the poison kill with Inkmoth Nexus.
Okay, he's got him up to 6, it looks like.
Yeah. And the Arcbound Ravager on top is going to probably incentivize Aerie to just go for it because that might seem to be his best line to victory. However, Andrew has a Path to Exile in hand.
Oh, my God, the perfect answer.
Right. So it depends if Aerie here feels that he has to go for it or not. And if he doesn't, if he goes for it, the game probably ends. Ares at 5 wouldn't have a board, probably the end of the game. The interesting part is what if Aerie doesn't go for it? What actually happens?
Right. So right now he's got a Signal Pest. Like, I mean, I don't even know what not going for it looks like particularly, right? Like, does it mean go? If that's the case, you know, he has up to 2 blockers here for the 2 creatures, but how do you win from there?
Right.
You chump block twice, you shrink down 1, and then you're just, I don't know. It feels like he's got to go for it.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah, grab a handful of dice, Ari. I like it. Just dump them all on the Inkmoth.
Right. So, like, the one thing, though, that's nice is this Ravager would be a good blocker if he decided to play around the card. Since, so this is pretty easy. You just sacrifice the Mox Opal. But, yeah, it looks like... Oh, there is one other line Aerie could go for here.
What do you see?
Aerie could attack here with Poison. There's no need to attack with a Signal Pest. He doesn't necessarily need to go for it this turn. His plan could, as simple as be just block both creatures with my Ravager and Signal Pest, animating my Inkmoth, potentially, if you are going to do something to Ravager. If you do nothing to Ravager, the Ravager will eat one of your creatures, and then I can just attack with that or block with it.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, this is a really tough spot for Ari.
Now, what about from Andrew's perspective? I mean, does he just... Well, let's just see what happens here. So it looks like Ari casts a Springleaf Drum and then just ate it. And he's just going for it.
Yeah.
Boom! Path to Exile. And that's a huge setback for Ari. Wow. Looks like Mark Jacobson's the one who has to...
Well, sure. Ari also has a second chance.
A second
chance. He is 1-0 up. The Affinity Burn matchup is the slowest one of the three.
Somehow. We started here and not a lot has changed.
Yes. But yeah. I think the worst part here is the Goblin Guides could potentially get information on what Ari sideboarded. But yeah. All the value from Goblin Guide.
Have we had our fill of Goblin Guides yet, you and I?
I was actually...
Can we take more?
We could take more, but I was actually going to mention at some point, well, how much have we seen? A lot of the top players have essentially come with Burn.
Yes. I mean, Eric Froelic's playing Burn.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of... we've seen Burn... Well, I mean, it is a team event. There are a lot of formats, but we constantly see Burn in the feature match
Agreed.
area. And, yeah, we've been discussing in our team, is Burn having a renaissance? You know, because of how the metagame has changed? Yeah.
I know that Eric was a big fan of it at the last Modern GP where he also played it. And his logic was pretty simple. He said he thought that people, if you look at the sideboards, had slept on it a little, right? They just gone away from it a little bit. People used to run timely reinforcements, sometimes even in the main deck. And those type of cards had disappeared from sideboards and main decks. And his thinking was, it's time to go. You know, it's cyclical. It happens like that. And so that's why he sleeved it up, and maybe why he did here too.
Yeah, when you look at sideboard, that's what happens. People run less kitchen finks in the main deck. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Burn just seems well positioned because they go like, well, I have 1 or 2 sideboard slots. Oh, I'm worried about Trong. I'm worried about Lantern. So people put in more cards for those decks, and yeah, just they're like, well, okay, well I won't face Burn, right? Nobody plays that. Oh, well, people are now.
Yeah. By the way, we apologize for the poison counters that you see at the top. Those are from the Affinity deck, and they're not representative of this game. These players, you'll see their life totals there. No, they did not find some infect cards or whatever in Standard and start running them. So disregard if possible.
But yeah, just noticing what's going on here. Mark's decided to be the one on the front foot this time by drawing better, and being on the plate.
Is that all it takes?
Yeah, sometimes it is.
You should try that sometimes.
Yeah, but people don't want to admit it sometimes, but that's how it works. But yeah, here Hydra, Vizier Hydra, just these very powerful hexproof threats, very hard to deal with. I mean, Jeffrey's also lacking green mana. The only green mana that Jeffrey has access to is that Aether Hub. And Botanical Sanctum comes into play tapped. Attune with Aether would take time. So that means that, like, he's bottlenecked on green. And when you're facing 2 Bristling Hydras beating down, you don't want to be bottlenecked. You need to really, catch up. You can't just, like, let these things attack you and attack you and attack you. You have to catch up. I think here Jeffrey is deciding whether he wants to trade free energy for 4 life. That's there's no block that really ends up in Jeffrey being able to kill that Hydra. So yeah, Jeffrey decides here, you know what? I'm going to save my free energy. I think free energy is worth more than 4 life here. Which I think is correct for the first hit, but it definitely will stop being the case very fast.
Right. As your life total gets lower and lower.
Right, yeah. You can look at it from a game theory perspective as percentage of life.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're hitting for 4 at 20, it's 20% of your life total. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a hit I can take. But, when the hit is for, well, let's say like you're at 8, when it's for 50%, okay, that starts being a problem.
Right.
And obviously when it's 100, you have to stop something.
Then you must stop, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Lots of stuff in hand here for Jeffrey.
Yeah, let's just see. Okay, so his hand doesn't contain too many green cards, so that's a good sign because of Aether Hub. The bad part, though, is that the best defense against the Bristling Hydra is actually another Bristling Hydra. The way the stats on Hydra work is if you want your Hydra to eat theirs, you usually have to spend twice as much energy, or like you have to spend an extra free. So what usually happens is actually an extra 6. Yeah, it's a lot of energy. So usually they just trade off. But yeah, and the problem here for Jeffrey is, well, Mark has the Hydras, and he's going to keep crunching in, just dealing more and more damage with them. And when Jeffrey misses his land drop and has a bunch of spot removal spells, it's not looking good. I think.
Yeah, these Hydras super annoying for that hand.
Yeah, I think Mark's going to take this one down.
I mean, Chandra's defeat. He's got it in his hand. It doesn't look very good here. Yeah. Hey, another Bristling Hydra. Good.
Yeah. Well, I had trouble dealing with one Hydra, 2 Hydra. Well, how about a third?
All right. Well, at least he had the counter for that.
Yeah, that would have been just undeal. That would have been the end.
Right.
But yeah, the board position stays the same. That's the problem. It's still Jeffrey taking 2 hits, and yeah. I mean, here there's an interesting thing Jeffrey could do. Let's see. So Jeffrey could force the issue by double blocking the Bristling Hydra, or triple blocking it rather with the Virtuoso and making out of a Refopter and block with the 2, which would be 4, forcing the Hydra to go up to 5, and then finding the removal spells to kill the Hydra. But that seems very unlikely unless he can somehow produce energy plus harness lightning.
But he could potentially get Mark Jacobson on 0 energy and have a window.
Yeah. He did have a Confiscation Coup in hand.
Okay.
So
that might
so that maybe was the line. He does lose potentially to a removal spell, but he's far behind. And if he had Confiscation Coup, the large Hydra, then that's okay. I think Jeffrey could have maybe tried to play for his outs. I think just chump blocking here is not a path to victory. And now he can't force Mark to use all his energy up. So the fact that these Hydras are hexproof threats is putting Jeffrey in a spot where you just can't catch up. So I think Jeffrey should have done what looked like a horrible block because it was his best chance at winning the game.
And that time has now passed, and he's just in this terrible position.
Yeah. Yeah, because Mark is going to go, well, I'm going to pump once. Do you want to do anything? And then Jeffrey might do something, and then Mark's going to go like, well, I'll pump again. So, like, you know, you can take away 2 removal spells for the cost of 6 energy, and that's the best case scenario for Jeffrey. Yeah, you can actually see it in the pace of play here. Like, he looks pretty flustered, which is giving away the information. I mean, Mark knows he's ahead, so it's not too much information, and it's fine. Like, tournaments are long. Like, at some point, your emotions are going to come out. Just, you know, accept that they exist.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, here, actually, yeah, Jeffrey's looking for a line. And his line is, this Harness Lightning is 2 mana, make a 1/1 Fopter.
Ugh.
Well, yeah, ugh, but...
No, I know. I mean, I understand he doesn't have a whole lot
choice.
Better going on, but man, you can't feel good about this.
Yeah.
You know, this is similar to the line that you wanted him to take, but a little later in the game than you wanted him to take it.
Yeah, but one more draw step, actually. So Jeffrey decided that he wanted to do it by untapping and using the Harness Lightning. And this is his spot if he had the energy. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one looks like it's really falling apart here for Jeffrey Chen.
Yeah.
We know Mark Jacobson is poised to win this, but it could also just be Ari Lax that wins it in case this one were to fall apart, but I don't really see how that's going to happen.
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is over.
Yeah. And that's going to do it. That is, of course, Jacobson-Lax-Yu winning that round and securing their day 2 position. We'll be back with more Magic after these messages.